In this video, I'm going to be sharing tips on how to plan effectively for meetings with your PhD supervisors. Hello, you're welcome back to my channel. My name is Ayodeji Matuluko and I'm a PhD candidate in Glasgow, University. The first tip I have is to have an agenda and send it ahead before the meeting. Now, treat your meetings as something so important, like treat it almost like a corporate meeting. Have an agenda, the things that you want to talk about in your meeting. So it could be important things that are troubling you, like a problem that you've tried to solve is not just working out, or it could be about key milestones in the project. Just make sure you have it listed out and then share with your supervisors ahead. What it does is that it helps them to prepare. Because remember that your PhD supervisors have so many other things they're doing. They have other students that they're supervising. They have their own research that they're working on. They probably most likely have teaching responsibilities. So your PhD project is just one of the so many things they are doing. So if you have an agenda and you send it ahead, it helps us to be prepared that, this is what we're going to discuss with these students at our next meeting. So it helps everybody to be prepared. And also what it means is that you have been able to think through before your meeting what are the key things that you want to discuss, and it helps you to have a structure within your meeting. So if your meeting is 30 minutes or it's 1 hour, that 1 hour will be useful because you've already planned ahead what you want to discuss. So my number 2 tip is linked to number 1, which is before every meeting, send at least one output or one important task that you have completed in the past month, or depending on how often you have meetings. So in the past few weeks or in the past month since you had your last meeting, what it does for you is that it helps them to see evidence of how much work you have done and to see where the key problems are. It's one thing to discuss, these are the issues that I'm having, I've tried to solve in this part of my project, or I'm having this data collection issue, or I'm trying to write my methodology, some things are not making sense. But if you can share just one paragraph, or it could be one document or something, it doesn't have to be something massive, because remember that the PhD is a marathon, so you're going through it slowly. But if you're able to share at least one thing, it can help them to have something, a base on which to discuss on, something to discuss with while you're having the meeting, and it helps you to be able to solve problems promptly. So if you've been bothered about something for so long, if you are able to just share ahead, they can help you to quickly backtrack and make some changes instead of you spending so long trying to make something perfect and then sharing it at the end. So have at least one thing that you share before you get to the meeting that they would have had a look at, even if they don't have the time to finish looking through everything. At least during the meeting you have something that you can discuss with while also going through your agenda. My 3rd tip is still linked to the first 2 tips. So have at least one question to ask. So yes, you have your agenda. Your agenda could cover things like milestones of your project. Maybe you're at the data collection stage, or you're doing a particular experiment in the lab. But have at least one question. Trust me, there will always be a question, because the PhD journey, the PhD process is about thinking, trying to solve problems, trying to think about things. And there's some things you just spend so long thinking about. And remember that your PhD supervisors are experts, that if you just ask them that one question, it could just turn everything around. So asking questions does not mean you're stupid or you've not taken time to walk through the answer. I mean, obviously that is why you're even doing a PhD. You would have taken time to do all the work, but you would have one thing that is troubling. It could be anything, or you could even be talking about how you feel about the process, about the PhD journey, the issues that you're having, and they'll be able to allay your fears or allay your anxieties by sharing some things that will help you to really clarify your thinking and help you to solve problems early on. And this question that you have could be about the present thing that you're working on at that stage of your project, or it could be about future tasks. So before you even go on to the next thing, maybe you're supposed to put together a findings chapter, analyze your findings. You could have one question about that, about how you present the findings, or about how you analyze the data. Just have one question, and then you will find out that your supervisors will be willing to help you, and they'll be able to provide insights based on their expertise that would guide you when you now go on and carry out your tasks. My 4th point, which probably should have been my first point, but I just wanted to go through the first 3 points, was you should lead the meeting. Now, if you're able to do all that I've highlighted in the first 3 points, you have an agenda, you send it ahead, you have one question to ask, you have one output that you've shared, that's already you leading the process. But you should lead the meeting, because you can come into a meeting, especially if you have the number of supervisors. So maybe you have 2 to 4 supervisors, and you have different people in the meeting, supervisors with different types of expertise, supervisors with different types of perspectives about your work. So if you're able to gather everybody, lead the meeting in a way, so you have your agenda, this is what I want to discuss, you have the conversation going in different angles. But if you're able to backtrack, and the way you can even backtrack is like, or try to clarify things that people have mentioned in the meeting. Try to say, oh, is this what you're wanting me to do, or is this what you mean? So if you're able to guide the conversations, and also remember that you have your agenda, so when you discuss one item and if you find out that okay, you don't have time to discuss the other items, you can find a way to bring back the conversation to, okay, this is what we need to discuss next. So don't leave it to your supervisors or your main supervisor, like we call it in my university, director of studies, to lead the meeting and say, okay, so what next do you want to discuss? Just go through your agenda, walk through what you want to discuss, and trust me, to be an enjoyable process for your supervisors and for you, because the supervisors like students that are proactive, like students that always show that they're leading the show more or less, and they'll be willing to support you, and to more of an enjoyable process for all of you, because you have taken charge and they can see that okay, this person is really enthusiastic, this person is really excited about this project, this person is willing to take these big risks or carry out these tasks, and you have more of an enjoyable process. It's really enjoyable working with people who are self-starters and who are proactive, and you would get more from your supervisors in that way. Another tip for having effective meetings is during the meeting, you should discuss the timeline for future tasks. So during the meeting, if you've already agreed that, okay, this is what I need to be doing over the next few weeks, over the next few months, you should agree together with your supervisors, okay, this is the timeline. So for example, maybe you gone off to carry out an experiment, gone off to collect some kind of data, or you're discussing through your data collection process, your data analysis process. If you agree with your supervisors, okay, this is how long this phase should take, or we hope it should take, because research doesn't always go as planned and things always take longer than we expect. But if you're able to have that conversation with your supervisors, and from their own experience they'll be able to say, oh no, I don't think that process should take you just 4 weeks. Oh, I think you should give an allowance for an additional 4 weeks, so let's do it for 2 months. Regularly discuss the timeline for tasks, and regularly share with them a Gantt chart. So a Gantt chart is you listing out the different tasks that you need to do along the journey of your PhD and the timeline for that. So if you regularly share with them the Gantt chart, maybe every quarter or even every year, if you want, just for them to see how we are doing, the timeline, it helps you together to have a discussion about expectations, about realistic timelines, and it helps you to guide you to really have that structure, even though you know that okay, things will not go as planned, but at least you know that with my supervisors we've agreed and we know that this is how long things should take. So regularly share your timeline, discuss your timeline. You don't have to do that at every meeting, but find a good time point to always regularly discuss and actually share with them your Gantt chart, your timeline. Always share an updated one, because the former one that you have shared with them will be out of date when you find out that things have not gone as planned, but at least things have had a bit of a structure because you had this plan. So you share with them an updated plan regularly, so that you're gradually seeing how things have changed and what the timeline is and what are the expectations moving forward, and hopefully when you plan to finish your PhD. So it's really good to have a timeline, because it's better to plan for how you want to go than not have any plan at all. My next tip for how to have an effective meeting is you need to agree with your supervisors what you need to achieve before the next meeting. Always have that on your agenda. What is the next thing that we want to achieve, or what is the next thing that you want me to achieve, or what is the next thing that I plan to achieve before the next meeting that we can discuss in that meeting. It's not a way to box you, but it's actually good for your productivity if you're able to say, okay, this is the next thing that I want to do before the next meeting. So maybe in this meeting you've discussed about analysis, you've discussed about the process of analysis, you've discussed how to walk through different techniques, and you can say, okay, before the next meeting I'd like to share with you 1 page of my findings, or 1 page of the analysis, or I would like to share 1 table with you, and you agree together, book a date in their calendar, or they just note that down that okay, before the next meeting, at least a week before the next meeting, this student is going to send this work, and I'll be able to have a look, or even if I can't have a look before the next meeting, at least I know she's sending this, and that is what we can discuss within the next meeting. It helps you to be productive, like I said, and it also helps them to help you because they know what to expect from you in the next meeting. My next tip is to, of course, decide on the next meeting date. Now, this seems like a small part of it, but you actually need to decide when next you're going to meet, because like I said before, supervisors are busy. They have so many responsibilities, and you're just one of their responsibilities. They have so many things that they're doing. So you need to decide on the next meeting date, and they will probably have like a very busy calendar, and you want to make sure that you lock in your space in that calendar. So if you have a meeting maybe 16th of this month, you know that okay, by next month, around the same time, you want to have a meeting. So you have to agree in that meeting. Are you available at this point in time? Are you available at that point in time? So that you don't stay anxious, when you have the meeting, you go off and then you're wondering, when can I have the next meeting? And then if you book the meeting too late, and then you find out that that, oh, your supervisor is busy or they have to move the date, you might end up not having a meeting the next month, and all those things that you wanted to ask, that agenda that you had, it might be really tough for you. I mean, it's not always necessary, or it's not always possible that you might meet with all your supervisors, so you can decide to meet with one of them at a different time point, or meet with another one at another time. But it's always beneficial when you have everybody in the room, because like I said, they all have different perspectives, and it's always good to be able to gauge and get different opinions and get different feedback on your work, and that way you can try better than if you are speaking to different people and they're saying different things and you don't have a uniform time when you discuss with them. So as much as possible, try to get all of them in the same room at the same time. But if it's not possible, make sure that you're communicating effectively by sharing the progress with the work, what other supervisors think. So just make sure that you decide on the next meeting date, and if possible, like for me, for example, I set up meeting dates that recur for a number of months. So like every 6 months, I know that for this whole 6 months, these meeting dates are locked in my supervisor's calendar, so they know that, okay, Ayodeji is having the supervision meeting in June, in July, August, September, and they already know, it's already in the calendar. And if they need to change anything, maybe change the time, change the date, they know that, okay, we're just doing a change, but this meeting was already set for this date. And like I said before about leading the meeting, you also need to lead this process. Don't wait for your supervisors to say, oh, so when should we have the next meeting? Be proactive and say, okay, this is when I think we should have next meeting. Are you available on this date? So always have that in mind, and it helps you, like I said, to develop productivity, and also helps you to be able to manage your timeline, because way you're able to know what to expect, because you've already set this timeline and different milestones, times to meet, times to share work, and all of that. Finally, my last tip, and which I think is the most important tip, is to make sure that you're taking notes during the meeting. Take notes during the meeting and make sure that everything that you're writing you actually understand. So you want to clarify, oh, sorry, excuse me, that thing you just said, did you mean? And then you note it down. And your supervisors will be very, obviously they're very open to you taking notes, and we're very happy for you to make sure that you're getting the points down correctly as much as possible. And like, for example, my supervisor, when I'm taking notes, like when we have face-to-face meetings or even online meetings, it's always pretty obvious that I'm taking notes, and sometimes she's like, okay, wait, let me wait for you to get that down. And then she's like, do you understand what I just said? And I say it back to her, and then she's like, oh yeah, you got it. And then I make sure that it's written down in my notes. So that's just in my notes. But what you also want to do is, after the meeting, make sure that you write it up in a formal document. And if you have that structure in your university where you're actually required to write it up, send to your supervisors and send to your research administrator, this would definitely help you. So what you can do is now write out the meeting notes. So that's almost like, in a corporate setting when you're taking minutes of the meeting, it's just similar to that. So make sure that you've written up all your notes now in a document, and you send it to all supervisors, even those that were not present in the meeting if possible, because you want to make sure that everybody's on the same page. So if you had a meeting with different supervisors at different time points, you can create notes and say, okay, this is what I discussed, this is what I plan to do next, this is when we are meeting next, and all of that. And what that does is not just about just sharing and saying, oh, this is what my notes are from the meeting, is to make sure that people understood things the way you understood them. And if there's something that you're not interpreting correctly, your supervisor can say, oh no, that's not what I meant, when they read the minutes, and they're able to let you know if you need to make changes or you need to understand something differently. And that way everybody's on the same page, and then you can prepare for the next meeting, because you know that, okay, things are now clear in everybody's mind. So I've shared 8 tips to help you prepare effectively for meetings with your PhD supervisors. If you found these tips helpful, you can leave a comment below, you can give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and turn on all post notifications so that you get notified when I upload the next video. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.